Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Wise, and I am the Vice President of the Women in STEM Club here at the University of Arizona Global Campus. I'm excited to welcome everyone to our event. Just a quick intro for those who may not have joined us before. We are a student-led organization which focuses on STEM careers for women. Our club includes the UAGC Women in Technology International Chapter, better known as WEDI, and the UAGC chapter of Girls Who Code, College Loop. University of Arizona Global Campus Women in STEM strives to provide a pathway to educate, engage, and encourage women's equality and inclusion globally in all STEM careers. We also look to partner with industry leaders and the community to create an atmosphere that encourages and promotes STEM careers for women. We look forward to supporting our members in many facets of their college and career goals. I want to thank you again for joining us today, and now I pass the mic over to our lead faculty advisor, Lisa Sims.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mackenzie. I am Lisa Sims, and I am the lead faculty advisor for the Women in STEM. Welcome to Introverts in STEM. We are excited to have you here today. And before we get started, we're going to have an icebreaker to kind of test your knowledge or test what you know about introverts, or what you believe to be true about introverts. And I'm going to go ahead and launch our first poll here. And if you could go ahead and cast your vote here. The first one is introverts can't be good leaders. Is that true or false? Or do you believe that to be true or false? All right, we're coming in. We still coming in. All right, I think we are good. I'm going to go ahead and share the results. So 8% said true and 92% said false. Those of you that said false, you are correct. It is a myth that introverts can't be good leaders. And so we are going to kind of debunk some of those myths today as well. And so let me bring up our next poll here. And it is introverts don't like to speak up or contribute. And go ahead and cast your vote whether you think that is true or false. Give you a few minutes to all right, it looks like we are done. I am going to go ahead and end the poll and share our results. And again, we have 8% that says true, and we have 92% that says that is false, and the false are correct. And we are also going to address this within today's topic as well. And you're probably noticing a pattern as we go through these. I'm going to launch our next poll here. Introverts don't take risks. All right. I see the votes being cast. All right. Okay. All right, well, this one, I'm going to share the results. 100% said that it is false. Introverts don't take risks. And you are correct that introverts don't take risks. That is a myth that we are going to also debunk today as well. And we have two more that we are going to actually here. I can't launch that one. Okay, this one, for some reason, I can't launch it. So go ahead and put in the chat what you think to this one. Introverts are not socially adept. Is that true or false? And we'll have to utilize the chat for this one. I see a lot of false. Okay. All right. Well, you are correct. That is false. And that is also another myth that we are going to address today as well. And our final poll question is, introverts can't adapt. Do you think that's true or false? And you can put that in the chat. For some reason, I can't launch this particular poll. I was able to launch my first two. All right, I see false. All right. And the false, those that answered false are correct. And so those are some of the myths that we are going to address during today's Introverts in STEM conversation. And so I thank you for your participation as we kind of looked at some of the myths of introverts. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Mackenzie to introduce our awesome speaker of the hour. Mackenzie, take it away.
Thank you, Lisa. It is my pleasure to introduce Kat. Kat is 38 years old and lives in Nashville, Tennessee with her husband, 2 teenage kids, and their guinea pig. She holds a Bachelor of Arts and a Master of Science in Psychology with a concentration in forensics, and is currently 20 credits out from completing her Doctor of Psychology, specializing in criminology and justice studies here at the University of Arizona's Global Campus. She is preparing to complete her applied doctoral project on how topology, motive, and gender influence societal perceptions of serial killers. Outside of the classroom, Kat is president of the UAGC Women in STEM Club and vice president of UAGC's Sigma Epsilon Kappa. She is employed at a university where she works as a mentor, helping at-risk first-year online students become successful self-directed learners. Kat recently launched her own business, Cerebrum Sapiens, providing forensic consultations and advocacy services and performing public speaking engagements. To fulfill her love of volunteerism and supporting others, she volunteers her time with an organization that is focused on ending suicide in LGBTQ+ youth. Kat is both intimately familiar with and passionate about the psychology of personality, as after graduation, she plans to work in behavioral analysis of violent offenders, specifically those who have committed homicide, and then use that knowledge to provide expert testimony during legal proceedings. As an introvert herself, she is excited to spend the afternoon engaging with you all as we discuss STEM-related fields and how introverts can flourish with them. Keep an eye out for the interactive portions of the discussion and please enjoy the presentation.
Kat, take it away.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can all see the presentation that I have prepared. I'm not totally sure how to make it go full screen, so we'll work with it.
Bottom right hand corner, you should see something that looks like a projector, you know, the little projector, and you click on that, it will do that. And then also you can go up to the menu where it says slideshow. Either way.
I should have known that.
That's okay.
Okay. Working on it. Technical difficulties.
Hey,
Okay,
we're fine. We're fine.
We're good to go now. So I'm going to skip the first slide. It's just the title. For our agenda, we're going to look at fact or fiction, which discusses the polls we just did. We're going to take a look at what introversion is and what the science behind introversion says about it. We're going to have a discussion about how introversion is assessed and different personality assessments and how they're used. We're going to look at introversion in STEM careers, as well as looking at how technology has influenced the evolution of personality psychology. And then we'll leave some time for a Q&A and closing remarks. So we're going to get started, and I'm so excited to be here with you all today. We've already had my introduction. Y'all know me. So fact or fiction, we went through these questions in the poll. Introverts not making good leaders, not liking to speak up during conversations, not being risk takers, being shy and awkward, and lacking the ability to adapt. So surprise, they're all myths. So usually introverts are better leaders who are able to produce better results than their extroverted peers. This is because when filling a leadership role, traits that are commonly associated with extroversion, like being controlling, dominating others, being unable to listen both actively and passively, and not thinking and planning before you speak or make decisions can diminish the effectiveness of leadership. Introverts do like to engage in conversation and contribute ideas, but it may be best to give them a little bit of time beforehand to prepare. For an introvert, having a clear agenda, using whiteboards or charts, having notes to keep things on track, and even having a meeting facilitator who ensures everyone has a chance to speak can all provide introverts with things that they need to feel comfortable interjecting themselves into a conversation. Introverts love innovation, but they are cautious risk takers. Folks with traits of extroversion are more likely to take risks that provide a form of almost instant gratification. And they'll often look without leaping, or they'll leap without looking first. However, introverts are more methodical and deliberate when they're making decisions, which has been proven to produce more consistently positive results. Not all introverts are shy or socially awkward. Many introverts, like me, have actually learned to enjoy public speaking, thanks in part to Dr. Conaway, who is here. And they enjoy socializing with their peers and building a solid networking community for themselves. Introverts typically excel at being able to read the room, being able to pick up on body language that other people are exhibiting, and they're excellent at being attuned to the environment and the energy around them. And this kind of helps introverts be excellent at speaking and doing presentations. The primary difference between introverts and extroverts in this scenario is that when compared to people who have a lot of traits of extroversion, introverts will often need a recharging period after they engage in social activities. They're usually going to feel kind of wiped out and drained, like it just zapped everything right out of you. Introverts can adapt, which is one that kind of got me because sometimes it does feel a little harder to adapt because you're moving out of your comfort zone. It is something that introverts do have to work on over time. While introverts typically prefer to work in calm settings that allow them to operate with autonomy, they can adapt to change by adopting traits of extroversion. because they are excellent observers, they're able to pick up on social instances, nuances, hidden emotions, and team dynamics more easily than those who have traits of extroversion and might usually overlook those things. Now we'll look at what personality is, and we'll go into an explanation of the science behind the psychology of personality. So, personality psychology focuses on being able to understand personality's nature and the definitive criteria along with its development, structure, trait constructs, dynamic processes, variations, and even maladaptive forms. The science behind the psychology of personality is deeply rooted in biology, and it suggests that the anatomical structures in our brain has a significant influence on the development of personality traits, and the biological theories of personality are an offshoot of neuropsychology. So if we apply that knowledge and then follow the humanistic trait or the humanistic theory of personality, which eventually led to the development of Maslow's hierarchy of needs model, then we're able to understand that our personalities are developed through biology, subjective experiences, and interactions with our environments. Practitioners in the field of personality psychology, they tend to, I'm trying to think how to say it to keep it basic, they utilize the scientific method for the work about understanding the development of personality. And they do this by stating a question, identifying a theory, testing a hypothesis, and applying the results to develop evidence-based practices that lead to how we assess different personality types and determine how it might influence whether a person is more likely to exhibit traits of introversion or extroversion, and how that can go on to influence not only their mental well-being, but their physical well-being as well. Now we kind of segue into technology, and we'll look at a brief explanation of the technology that practitioners utilize in studying the psychology of personality. So realistically, over the past 20 years or so, technology has had a huge transformative impact on the field of psychology as a whole. Technology has totally changed the way that assessments are administered, the way we attend appointments with mental health professionals through telehealth services, and even how satisfied and fulfilled we feel in our daily lives. Technology has a direct influence on that. Some practitioners in the field of personality psychology have been implementing AI algorithms into their assessments, which allows them the ability to increase the accuracy and predictions while also improving their ability to implement treatments for mental illnesses that have positive long-term outcomes. The intersection of technology and psychology is important to the continued evolution of mental health care. It allows practitioners to create mental health care plans that are more specific to each individual client and more precise. Many services that are offered using technology rather than a face-to-face in-office visit also tend to be cheaper and more easy to access for individuals who may otherwise be faced to barriers getting those services. And technology can also be included in a client's treatment plan, as there has been some research from the American Psychological Association that has indicated using social technologies like social media platforms can have an effect on how good we feel about ourselves, about things that are going on in the world. And it can have an effect on the satisfaction we get from our lives. Like if you post a picture, somebody comes along and likes it and they're like, wow, you look great today. That's boosting our well-being and encouraging positive social connectedness, which not only helps lead to the development of personality traits, but it boosts our overall mental well-being. So introversion is what we're all here for today. But what does it mean? What is introversion? So if we look at statistics, and these are from US Census Bureau, so if you want to go back and look at them, you can find them through the census. 50.7% of the total United States population are introverts. Only 49.3% are extroverts. Out of the total global population, 56.8% are introverts. And then to make it even a little better, 70% of gifted people are introverts. That's cool statistics to know, because generally people assume that introverts are the minority, we're different, we're weird, and it's actually the opposite. So there are 4 different kinds of introversion. There's social introverts, thinking introverts, anxious introverts, and restrained introverts. Social introverts will generally prefer to hang out with smaller groups of people. And this type of introversion does not include shyness, because there's no anxiety that is driving the introversion. It's just an innate trait. Thinking introverts, who are often confused with social introverts, are not typically opposed to social events. However, they tend to be very introspective, thoughtful, and self-reflective. Anxious introverts will typically prefer spending time alone and may often mention feeling very awkward and lacking self-confidence in social situations. There is anxiety driving this type of introversion, and with adequate access to mental health services for treating anxiety, these people can switch back and forth from introverted to extroverted depending on where they're at in treatment. This kind of introversion is also clearly different from the other types, because the anxiety that is attached to socializing, it does not diminish for them once they're alone. After they're alone, they kind of keep replaying it over and over in their head, how their awkwardness was to blame for the social interaction not being great. And then they overthink what did go wrong, what could have went wrong but didn't, what might go wrong if they're in a social interaction in the future. And it's so overwhelming. Restrained introverts are exactly what you would expect them to be based on the name. These individuals tend to be very reserved. They're often perceived as being overcautious, always needing time to process and think before they say something or before they act. And it's not unusual for this type of introverts to be considered standoffish and even cold. So in the chat, let us know what type of introversion best describes you. And I can't see the chat, so Mackenzie or Lisa has to tell me what people are.
All right. I see restrained so far, all of the above. Some say I have a little, I have all five. Anxious. There's a tie between anxious and restrained. Anxious is coming in pretty good. Anxious, yes, we have a lot of anxious.
The anxious introvert is the most common type of introversion. So it's interesting to see it work out that way in the chat, asking a group of random people. It's very awesome.
Let's see, we have, let's see, ambivert, but thinking and social probably best describe my introvert side. We've got anxious, social, and thinking, and restrained, all five, and all of the above. Thinking, that's what we have so far.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So, assessments. How do you know if you're an introvert? So first, we need to know about psychometrics. Psychometrics is the term to describe the specific area of psychology that is focused on testing, measurement, assessment, and the quantifiable measurement of mental attributes, behavior, cognition, aptitude, personality, and so much more. Psychometrics is a huge part of psychology as a whole. This area of psychology typically involves two fields of research. First, the construction of instruments and evidence-based practices for measurement. And second, the development and refinement of theoretical approaches to measuring psychological constructs. Measurement in psychology, and especially in personality psychology, is often performed using self-report questionnaires and surveys, resulting in these measurements being considered as imprecise and significant more likely to be influenced by user error than other types of assessments. Because of this, psychometrics is essential. Due to the field's focus on statistical methods and outcomes, along with an understanding of how to effectively and accurately measure specific attributes that are impossible for a practitioner to observe directly. You can't look at somebody and see their personality. So personality assessments. In the waiting room, we provided some links where you could participate and take a psychological assessment. We had links for the MBTI, the Big Five, and the DISC assessment. So I'm going to just kind of explain what each assessment is. The MBTI, which is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, is a self-report questionnaire. The questions asked indicate differing psychological preferences, world perceptions, and decision-making choices. The most common use of this personality inventory is to help individuals better understand their interpersonal approach to various situations and audiences. The MBTI divides personality types into 4 categories: introversion and extroversion, sensing and intuition, thinking and feeling, and judging and perceiving. According to the theory that the MBTI is rooted in, each person will have one preferred quality from each predetermined category, resulting in the classification of one of the 16 unique personality types. The MBTI, even though it is one of the older personality inventories, it is considered to be one of the least accurate. So it's a fun assessment to take, and it can explain a little about why you're the way you are, but take it with a grain of salt, because you could take it and then take it 15 minutes later and get a totally different result. The Big Five describes the personality traits of extroversion, agreeableness, openness, conscientiousness, and neuroticism. They use the acronym OCEAN to describe the 5 traits. The theory of the 5 basic personality traits was developed in 1949 when researchers used statistical techniques to identify groups related to characteristics or traits that personality psychologists then scientifically tested using large population samples. The use of the Big Five model of personality allows the practitioner to identify where an individual's personality traits fall on a broad spectrum in comparison to others and how they're perceived by others. The Big Five personality test is a 120-question self-report inventory and is viewed by mental health professionals as being the gold standard of personality assessments due to its evidence-based accuracy. DISC assessments are behavioral self-assessment tools modeled after the 1928 emotional and behavioral theories of psychologist William Moulton Marston. The DISC model categorizes into 4 primary styles: D for dominance, I for influence, S for steadiness, and C for conscientiousness. Everyone is a mixture of all 4 personality styles, but most people tend to be sorted into 1 or 2 specific style quadrants. Okay, fun fact. If a person is labeled by the DISC assessment as a high S or a high C, this means they're much more likely to be an introvert. This assessment is most often used by employers. They can use it to determine if a person is a good fit for their company or organization, or if they'll be good at performing that job based solely on their personality type. So we did not provide links to these 3, but as far as personality assessments go, these are super important. So the Rorschach test was developed in 1921, and it's a type of projective personality assessment in which individuals are asked to look at ink blots and their interpretation is then recorded and analyzed using psychological interpretation and complex algorithms. This assessment has been popular among psychologists who are attempting to assess an individual's personality traits and the level of emotional function they are capable of. In the past, the Rorschach test was even used to diagnose mental disorders like schizophrenia. The Rorschach test has been standardized and is effective at assessing for and measuring depression, psychosis, anxiety, and traits associated with introversion. The Hexaco Personality Inventory Revised is an instrument that's used to assess 6 major factors or dimensions that are associated with personality. There's honesty and humility, emotionality, extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness to experience. The assessment uses 24 facet level personality trait scales to define the 6 major personality factors. Each of the 6 factors consist of traits with characteristics that describe whether the person has a high or low level of the major factor that they were assessed for. Hexaco uses a sociability scale, which allows practitioners to assess the likelihood of that person engaging in social activities and enjoying partying, or if they prefer solitary and quiet activities. And finally, we have dark core. Dark core, you would probably only hear about being used in forensics or criminal psych. And it's often referred to as the dark triad personality test. And it's based on 3 distinct personality traits: Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy. The dark core is thought by many practitioners to manifest general dispositional tendencies, which could catalyze the development of what are known as dark traits. The assessment is thought to be effective at identifying aversive traits that lay the foundation for the emergence of aversive personality types. While this personality assessment differs from the others because it does not specifically assess for introversion, it can be used to assess for antisocial behaviors that are associated with severe and dangerous types of introversion. So, what do you think? In the chat, could you tell us which of these personality assessments is most interesting to you and which you think would be the most useful at understanding introversion? Oh, I can see the chat now.
Oh, okay. I was gonna read them to you as they come in. Let's see, Mackenzie. I like the big 5.
The big 5 is like great. It really is like the gold standard.
We have another for the big 5. Let's see. Vincent, I took DISC a few years ago when it was offered, and that was helpful. It would be interesting to, oh, wait a minute, my chat went away, to take it again to see what may have changed. We have another for the big 5. Angela says, I remember doing the ink blot test as a child. Should I be worried?
No, you should only be worried if they want you to take the dark triad test. And Vincent, the DISC assessment is actually free online to take. So if you want to take it to see how your results have changed, you definitely can.
Let's see, we have a few more. Tanika, let's see, I've done DISC a few times and it's interesting to see how it changes over time. Brandy, I like the big 5, but I would like to see the dark core. Kara, dark core, just very interesting. Big 5 or DISC seem great for general introvert in general. Let's see here. We have Ernie. I think that's what. So far, the only one I've tried is the MBTI one, and I really liked it, but we'll definitely take the big 5 after this session. And then let's see. Wow, you pronounced my And then, wow, you pronounced my name right the first time. Hey, I try. Now I mess up some names, but I try to get it right. And let's see, Tamara. Let's see, I felt that now. Is it Tamara or Tamara? But I'm going to read it as I felt very validated after taking the MBTI. Will do this next. And Alexa, I just finished the Big Five. My lowest is 37.5 on extroversion. Not shocking. I haven't heard of dark core before, so we'll have to look into that.
Yeah, there's a lot of like just regular Google. You don't even have to go down a Google Scholar rabbit hole. There is so much information out there about personality assessments and how they work. And the majority of them are available for free and you can take them. Their personality assessments are always fun. Now we're going to move into the careers portion of our presentation, and we're going to take a look at which STEM careers are best for introverts. So introverts tend to thrive in careers where they are given adequate space and independence. Many introverts prefer a workplace with minimal external distractions. Like you can just put us in a room, shut the door, leave us there all day, we're good to go. When searching for a job, an introvert should make sure to consider their existing professional network, develop a portfolio and a resume, and be mindful of the body language you use during an interview. However, you should make sure to take advantage of the innate perks of being an introvert that look fantastic on a resume, and market yourself based on qualities associated with introversion, like being able to listen actively and passively. We kind of hit on that earlier. Being able to think carefully before you speak, being a cautious risk taker, and also having the ability to be more inclusive and empathetic to those around you, and being a self-directed worker. Some careers that an introvert might excel at are things like accounting and tax preparation, research and data entry, engineering and architecture, computer programming and software design, and information technology and cybersecurity. This is an area where it gets a little hard to find the specific statistics, because I don't think it's something that the Board of Labor Statistics really assesses for. So it makes that a little more difficult. I, on my own, went on Reddit and created a poll asking for people who were introverts to participate in the poll and let me know what kind of career they have that they feel is well suited. And then there are so many ways that we can leverage introversion for success. When we think about leveraging introversion for success, a few key elements really help. Work toward pushing past your self-imposed boundaries. If it is outside of your comfort zone, do it. You'll never know if you can if you don't try. This has been a big one for me, probably more important than any of the others. When I started college in 2015, I could barely make a phone call without having a panic attack. Now, here I am talking to all of you like it's the easiest thing in the world. Work on developing your extroverted qualities. According to psychological theory, we all possess introversion and extroversion traits. No one is a pure introvert or extrovert. This does not mean that you have to suddenly morph into an extrovert who goes out on the town every weekend, but this can help you adapt in both the workplace and academia as you become more comfortable stepping to the front and making yourself seen and heard. Always take the opportunity to prepare for everything, meetings, events, social interactions, whatever you're doing that might pull you out of your comfort zone, and push your boundaries. The more prepared and ready you are, the more comfortable you will feel and the less likely you will be to become overwhelmed. Play to your own unique strengths. Take the things that you know you're good at, no matter how small they are. Use them to your advantage. This is especially important for introverts in the workplace and academia, as it can provide opportunities to do huge things with long-lasting benefits for you. You're good at making presentations? Awesome. Do it. Let people know. You're good at speaking about topics that you're passionate about? Great. That's awesome. Sign up to speak at research symposiums or club meetings. We have both at UAGC all the time. Do you make cool flyers? That's another one. Let people know. Plain and simple, make your strengths known. Wear them as armor. Always remember that no matter what your strengths are or how introverted you feel, those traits and characteristics are what set you apart from the rest and increase your value and marketability. So what do you think? What traits of introversion do you wish were easier for you to manage? Which traits of introversion cause you the most difficulty? That is true. The Women in STEM Club has openings for a communications officer and a secretary. So that would be a good opportunity.
Just thought I'd throw that in there.
That was smart. That was good. All right.
Yeah, I'm still, how does one apply? I will put my email address in the chat and you can email me and we can kind of go from there.
Okay, we have one person saying one of the traits of introversion that's difficult for them is self-sabotaging thoughts. That's a big one. Overthinking, someone else said, that's also huge. Yes, overthinking is probably one of the most common. It's something I think almost everybody can say they have experienced at least once. Talking on the phone, that's a hard one. And confidence too, it can be hard to build confidence. Being assertive, yes. Being shy and liking to stay to yourself, breaking out of your shell, yeah, that's a tough one. So what do we have next? The future. Where will the future of technology lead the study of personality psychology and how we understand introversion and extroversion? We have covered so much information in a short time today, and I'm incredibly grateful to all of you for allowing me to have some of your time today. As we prepare to wrap up and transition into the next portion of the meeting, I would like to leave you all with some thoughts on the future of technology and personality psychology. As we continue to see technological advances embraced by the field of psychology, we can expect to see people provided with easier access to mental health services. Thanks to algorithms and virtual assisting, we will see increased reliability and validity of assessments and diagnostic tools that are used by practitioners. We will see continued innovation that improves the services we can provide and the development of services that will improve the long-term outcomes of treatment for mental health issues. Most importantly, though, is the hope that the continued advances of technology and psychology will equip us with ways to break down the stigma that is associated with mental illness and personality characteristics like introversion through widespread education and awareness. So let us know what technological advances you're most excited about. And I appreciate you all so much for having me today and listening to me talk to you. If you have any questions that aren't addressed during the presentation today, these are all the different ways you can contact me, and I'm always more than happy to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, I think we ought to give Kat a round of applause because, girl, you rocked it. So let's give her a round of applause. You did excellent. And you just showed how being an introvert, how you can overcome and step out of your shell and do it. And so if this doesn't encourage everybody that's on this call to step out of your comfort zone, I don't know what will, but thank you, Kat, for providing us with all this awesome information. And someone asked in the chat when the recording will be available. It's going to be available. You can find it on our LinkedIn group as well as on UAGC Connect, as it will be available on Tuesday. So give me about till Tuesday to actually post it. And what I want to do is, if you have questions, I want to give you an opportunity to ask your questions, and then we have a little video testimonial from another introvert that I want to show before we wrap up. So if anyone has questions, you can either put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself. However, let's see, Mackenzie.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
I know that you said that introversion can sometimes zap the energy out of you whenever you have to go to social events. What do you do personally to get back some of that energy?
Oh, I don't go to social events. No, when I when I have to be around people, by the time I'm done, usually my way of unwinding is to sit down with my kids and play a video game. And if I'm not doing that, I'm in a blanket burrito in my bed reading a book. Like, I have to just completely disconnect. I have to take a little chunk of time there where I'm not obligated to see or talk to anybody. And I think it really feeds back into just general self-care, knowing what you need from yourself to recharge.
And I could understand that. Alexa said, I don't go to social events either. More often than not, unless staying home with my cats count. We'll count that. We'll count that. You know, I force myself. You know, I'm kind of on the fence between introvert and extrovert. I do like to get out and everything, but I do have a son that's on the autism spectrum that doesn't like people, so I have to balance that. So I'm kind of on the fence about that. And Nicole said coloring helps me. I do that as well. I like that too. Helps me to kind of just calm my nerves and everything. Let's see. I'll go, but I'm in, Siobhan says, I'll go, but I'm in the corner in the, or in the back. And hey, I've been there too. So I understand. Let's see, reading. Oh yeah, our house is a library. I have books everywhere. Anyone else have any? Let's see. Hey, Melissa said hanging out with an introvert when you go out makes it easier. I would agree. My husband is more of an introvert, so yeah, he kind of helps with that as well. Let's see, Tanya, I stay in the back too. Yeah, I've been in the back. I'm slowly making my way to the front. Slowly making my way to the front. Anyone else have any questions for Kat? If not, I'm going to let me see what I'm going to do. I am going to play our video. Give me 1 second here from our introvert. I have to do it a different way here. Hold on. Where am I going? Give me 1 second. Trying to think, where did I put it? Let me see. Hold on. Let me open it first and then I'll go that way. Give me 1 second. Oh, okay. Hold on. Had to go the roundabout way to do this, but just bear with me. Okay, here we go. Share sound. All right, here we go. And this is our video testimony, Confessions of an Introvert by Dr. Karen Ivy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Karen Ivy, Assistant Dean at the University of Arizona Global Campus. I'm bringing to you today the topic on Confessions of an Introvert. Okay, you ready? Let's go. Introvert. When we think about an introvert, what comes to your mind? Well, I'm going to share a definition very quickly, but before I do that, I want you to know that introvert in Scramble is worth 12 points. All right. Okay, an introvert is a person whose personality is characterized by introversion. Okay, that doesn't tell us everything, but it goes on to say, by definition, typically the person is reserved or quiet, a quiet person who tends to be introspective and enjoys spending time alone. I can tell you that definition definitely explained me for several years of my life. When I was a little one, I was very quiet, very shy, even to the point where I would cry when I would get up to do poems or to do plays in church. And the adults who were at my church were so good, because every year they allowed me to get up there, even though I would bust out crying, until one day, all of that changed. So these are pictures that I'm showing here of when I was a little tot, and it shows the arrow points me out. All you need to do is look for the little knobby knees. That's Karen Ivy right there. All the time I was the youngest in my family, surrounded by extroverts. Everyone was an extrovert except for me and maybe my dad, right? But I grew up in a family like that. And I'm going to share with you as I go along how you can start off as an introvert like me, but as you mature, you definitely could change. And certain things in life may bring that out. So next, extrovert. Worth 19 points in Scrabble, by the way, want to tell you that. Definition of an extrovert: an outgoing, overtly expressive person, thrives on social engagements. Well, I told you when I was a little tot, I definitely was an introvert, and I explained myself today in being an introvert, but I obviously enjoy being an extrovert, and several times. You can see it all over this screen. Be it presenting a woman's workshop that I put on, flew out of town and executed that. Be it being a host speaker at a data mining conference. What I learned is when you come out of your shell, when you have something to say and you do it well, and I tend to do that well, people will listen. But you have to be willing to come out of your shell to do it. You have to be willing to do different things. In the other right-hand corner of this screen, it's me with several other people ringing the opening bell at NASDAQ in New York. Oh my goodness. That is nothing but extroversion going on all over the place, because you're clapping and you're cheering and you're opening the bell and you're ringing in the opening of NASDAQ. Oh my goodness. And your face is blasted right out there in New York for others to see. I learned that a voice that I have, not only in speaking, but also in singing. And so in the other corner down there, I'm recording in a studio. And then moving on to my academic years, being the assistant dean in our university, there are several times to be outward as an extrovert and to speak and to deliver and to help to grow and develop others, set strategy, bring groups together to execute and to be successful. I love doing all of those things, but what I found out, I had to come out of my shell in order to do those. And that's where being an extrovert for me came out. So wait a minute. If I said I'm introvert and extrovert, there's actually a word for it. It's ambivert, being an ambivert. And that means having characteristics in both sides. And so being an ambivert, I do love being that center of attraction. I do love bringing faculty together and say, hey, let's pose this way for the picture. And everyone does it and becomes a picture that is so memorable and one that we tend to cherish. I love being the one to do the choreography of a lady singing performance. And we're on stage and performing and singing, hats and all. I love being that woman in pink and sharing the story and importance of breast health and strutting down the aisle, right, in style, while I'm doing that as well as a survivor of breast cancer. I love developing people. And you see in the lower right, being that one pushing youth forward or other individuals forward in being their best or taking them to their next. And so that is that other part of me, having both the introvert and extrovert as an ambivert individual. I also love solitude and doing things by myself. And so if that means going to Epcot all by myself, which I have done, what I learned is you can meet a lot of interesting characters that you see in the picture there. If it means strolling down a beach by myself and taking a solo shot of me, selfie of me in my shadow on the beach, I love doing those things. Being on the Apollo stage, I love doing that. Being the full professor and adding to the academic literal world, right, with new findings and research and expanding in that way. I love doing that as well. But that's that other part of me that loves to be by myself, doing a half-century bike ride all by myself. I like doing that too. So obviously, I also have that other part of me that loves to be on the show, center of attraction, saying yes, as we're doing in the singing group up above. We're doing a performance all by myself on stage. I got a lot of good hand claps with that, and I enjoy doing it. It is quite fine to have characteristics within you that have both sides. You can be introvert, you can be extrovert, and Karen Ivy tends to be the same. So what is the message that I would leave with you here? Confessions of an introvert. If it's introvert, extrovert, ambivert, whatever your characteristics are, what is important is to be you. Y-O-U, be you. And so doing that, others will appreciate it. You'll be able to contribute. In IT, you may need to come out of that shell. If you are an introvert. In other business positions, you may need to come out of your shell. If you are an introvert and take on some extrovert characteristics, you have it in you. You can do it. And the other thing I'd like to leave as well is, no matter introvert, extrovert, ambivert, be willing to do something different. Don't always do the same thing. You will enjoy it. The world will enjoy you for it as well. And the last thing I will leave with you is, if you never come out of your shell and do something different, you will never realize just how amazing you are. And so come out of that shell, be you, and you will see you will make a change in this world. Take care. I'm Dr. Karen Ivy. Take care.
All right, and we thank Dr. Ivy for sharing that with us and encouraging us to get out of our shell. And so I thank you for joining us today. Let me start up my little slide here and give me one little second and then we'll let you go. Now, if you are not connected with us, I highly encourage you to connect with the Women in STEM group. You don't have to be a majoring in STEM, and you don't have to be a woman. We are an inclusive group, and so we welcome everyone. And so feel free to connect with us on UAGC Connect, as well as our LinkedIn group. We post information about our upcoming events on both of these platforms, and we also send out information via email as well. And then also, as I mentioned in the chat, if you're interested in our student officer positions, we have a communication officer position. If you are interested in social media, good with social media, then hey, we want to talk with you. And so you can either email me directly, I put my email in the chat, or you can email us at wis@uagc.edu. And so with that, I just thank you all for attending today. Kudos again to Kat for her awesome presentation, and for all of you taking time out of your schedule to attend. And so I hope you do something this weekend that just kind of challenges you to kind of come out of your comfort zone. I'll just share briefly about myself. I'm kind of one of the, I straddle the fence. I'm kind of both introvert and extrovert. And so my advice to you is to challenge yourself. If you're afraid to talk in front of people, put yourself in front of people and just keep doing it and keep doing it. And you'll feel more comfortable doing it, and it'll be second nature. So always look for those opportunities to stretch and to grow, because if you don't, then you'll miss out on those opportunities, and we don't want you to miss out on any opportunities. So if it's presented to you, say yes and figure out how to do it later. That's my 2 cents. And so with that, I am going to let you all go. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. And if anybody has a question or anything, we'll stay on for a few moments, but just continue to look out in your email for upcoming events. We're going to have one in June. It should be about June 9th. And it's going to be about DIY personal branding, which ties into your personality type. So you don't want to miss that as well. And so with that, thank you. Have a great weekend. And we're just going to hang out here for a few minutes if anyone has any questions or anything. But thanks again. Angela, have a great weekend as well.
I have a question.
Yes.
My mother-in-law just messaged me. Apparently, she was trying to get in here to see me do this, which